Hey guys, welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
And I'm Connor Coggins, and today we're going where where many crews have gone before. It is looking at an Enterprise, but Stuart, tell us the reason why.
Well, recently in Germany at a Star Trek convention, there was a little bit of a reveal from Eagle Moss. They had a poster that had a bunch of the ships that are going to be coming up. And on there was orthographic views of the new Enterprise. So a side and a top view, which I've been clamoring for. I want the top view for sure because it really shows what we need to talk about. So we have those now, so we can kind of have more of a discussion.
Yes, on Wednesday we had a first little look, but as we tend to do here, get a bit more in depth.
Yes, and this is going to be a fun one because not only are we going to discuss the new one, but we're going to compare it to the original one and how it should look in this time period.
Because remember, this is a Prime Canon show, which means that the Prime Canon Constitution class Enterprise looks like the Cage version, and in a few years, the original one from the show, that's the Prime Canon, as they say to us that it's going to be. So what is this ship? We don't know quite yet. So the next picture is a direct top view comparison.
But not size-wise. How did you size
Oh,
this?
yeah, no. So that's all a bit up in the air right now. So I could have compared this. I could have just scaled the saucers to be the same size, but then it came up short. But we know the ship's bigger anyway to match more discovery of a ship. So I thought I'll just compare the. I'll just match the two leading edges, so you sort of get a sense of the rough scaling. But it's not to scale, but it's just compare the designs. So a grain of salt there. But what's your first reaction, Stuart, to see the 50 years old Trek? And obviously this is the original model from Into Darkly, so this is as canon as you can get, you know. So what's your initial opinion, a thought? Because we have never looked at them properly side by side yet. So what's your first reaction?
For me, it works for a ship just kind of after the NX era, or in the NX era. I mean, we have done a mission briefing on that fan design ship that it's a Constitution class, but based on the NX era kind of thing.
Yeah.
It kind of fits in with that as far as, I see. Even the coloring of the hull looks older, and I could buy this as a precursor to the Constitution class. The only thing I would really change, though, because the shapes are pretty much all the same, is those pylons. If they had just gone with the straight pylons, it would definitely fit the era more. The swept back looks fantastic, and that's one of the reasons that everyone loves the refit, because it looks so majestic and fast when it's standing still. And it looks great on this one as well, don't get me wrong, but I think straight ones would have been more suited for the time period. And we know that it kind of got approved with straight ones and then got changed.
Yeah, it got designed with straight ones and then changed after the fact so it wasn't a design decision, it was a producer decision, as was the double something or other.
The split, yeah.
I mean, when I compare this, what springs to mind is, wow, they're actually more dissimilar than you would think from first glance. It's a ship that sort of hides its non-canonness well, by being the somewhat regulated 25% for whatever reason, but we won't get into that now. But that was the mandate, and so it's been changed. But having the different colours make a huge difference. The Aztecing, the stripes on the saucer are an interesting choice. A lot more bands of colour throughout the whole thing. And obviously this is the production version of Enterprise, or Defiant from the episode, rather than the Cage version, which, as we know, at the time should have spikes on the nacelles, which should then be red, and then should have a bigger bridge dome, bigger deflector. But we've gone with this version because it's the famous one.
But that being said, I mean, the Discovery one does have the black stripes on the saucer, which is a nice callback to the Cage one, because that also has that.
Although not the visible, not as well. You can sort of tell by how small the blinky is. You can sort of see the green blinky at the bottom, and you can see them in scale with the other ones. That already tells you it's a smaller ship, just because they're a good, 30-40% smaller. No, I would buy this if it was more silver than copper, as the very first prototype NX style upgrade, and then 50 years later they just like the Excelsior and Enterprise A sort of have similar vibes in a sense, or the C to the D again, sort of similar vibes, just changed. this was then the clean production version that we said, right, let's use let's now use the iPhone tech. Weird example because of the JJ iPhone stuff, but clean whites. But let's make a simpler, cleaner, better hull-plated version. Whereas this one looks older and more rustic, even though it's newer than the Connie at launch. Well, no, it is a Connie at launch.
Yes. The only thing that, to be honest, it looks a little more advanced than the original Enterprise, but that's because modern, standards, whatever. The one thing that makes it look a little bit more not ancient, just older. An older piece of shaping on this would be the Impulse deck. It's a lot bigger, a lot wider. And it just looks like it's an older version compared to the original one, where it seems much more streamlined and
integrated to perfection.
Yes, sleek, if you will. Right?
See what we did there.
But other than that, I think the rest of it looks more modern and more advanced than the original production one. So.
Yeah, it's difficult because it looks older because the NX looked older. In the sense of using welded plates and details, whereas then the Connie upgraded into, my phone's look at what advancement is. Mm-hmm. There's nothing, that's less advanced. So newer thing should look less, all those things that works. But yeah, obviously compare it to the sense of where technology might go, and yes, it's got all these details and it has that more movie quality, although it's still very faithful. I think one thing that makes it feel older to me, and if everything was in proportion, even though it isn't meant to be, like in terms of scale, like how much more complicated the nacelles are. There's so many it pinches in, comes out. In the Bassards, you've got the NX style things that slightly go over. It's lots of extra pieces that obviously not needed because the Connie is simple tubes, everything is internal. This one needs all those extra things, including a third grill at the bottom, whatever that does. Mm-hmm. The Connie does it. The original Connie did it better because it did it sleeker and simpler. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that says to me it's older. That's why again this would have been great if this was the Enterprise be the Constitution. And it'd be the NX Constitution, before it becomes refitted to service. You could easily, make that work well, but they went for Enterprise instead.
And a lot of people have been saying, it fits in perfectly with the Prime timeline. It's just a war variant because of the war with the Klingons, and it'll be refitted before Kirk gets it. But it was refitted after the Cage, so it's fine. It's just that miss. But no, because we know, as you mentioned earlier, it's been scaled up to kind of fit the Discovery sizing. So it'd be a much bigger ship. Well, I don't know how much bigger, but bigger than the original Constitution.
At least 25%.
At least. So, so in order for them to refit it to back down to what Kirk had would be very impossible, if not. Yeah, you'd have to just build a new ship at that point. You can't refit it downsized. I don't know. It's one of the arguments I've heard, and it just bothers me.
I mean, you're not going to take the Bassard front piece and then just cut away the outer 30% and slide it back in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, you're not gonna gently cut away pieces. No, you just build a new pylon that's designed. I mean, the idea of a war variant is really interesting, and if it was the correct size,
then there might be some validity to the argument.
Or even a tad small. If everything was like the refit is everything's slightly expanded. If everything was slightly shrunk, which would be interesting, like more advanced, smaller, more robust, whatever. Same with the nacelles, and then everything's refitted with, there's the engine, and then the actual production Connie, they just add one more level of armour. They pull away all the armour, they have this overall feel, boom, boom, the nacelle, the pylons are easy to repair and change, that would be really neat. And then I can always buy a war variant but then why would you refit out of a war, or it's an upgrade because of technology improvements? I mean, that'd be really interesting. Or even, could we even retcon, how do you feel if they actually did, going back to the NX link, they retconned the proto-Constitution class. It's called something else, but maybe that was around for 60 years ahead of time. It's the successor to the NX refit. It's very linear, if this was the missing link in between, say you add a deflector into the saucer to kind of bridge that gap, and then so it goes NX, refit, Connie, Proto, Connie, how'd that then feel?
That would work for me, but then again, the sizing would still be off.
Well, yeah.
But yeah,
But they could still undo that if they wanted. We didn't see a firm scaling for this season, or last season. Sorry, they could still undo the mistake of having it forcibly bigger because everything else is bigger, so it would look silly if it was the same size and small. Yeah. But does that mean that the Excelsior is now bigger, which doesn't mean now the Enterprise B is now bigger, the C is now bigger, the D is now bigger, the E is now bigger? Does that mean it's not as imposing against the Borg Cube? Is the Borg Cube now bigger? Well, that means every VFX shot in Star Trek ever doesn't work. Ever. Does that mean Shuttle has to be bigger? Does that mean Scimitar's now bigger? I mean, what? It just ruins some things. And does Voyager have to be bigger? But now Voyager only has 124 people. It doesn't make sense for it. Oh no! And now Voyager's got 400 crew. And now the shuttle does fit. See, when you start retconning something that major, you have to retcon everything around it or ignore it, because it'll be interesting to see how in 5 years this will work out. I'm hoping they just ignore Discovery, like re-retcon it out because it doesn't work if you upscale.
Another thing we should probably talk about is the lighting of the registry number.
Well, just the registry number and how it's...
Yeah, that's one thing I was going to get to. I don't like the font they use because they use the movie era font, not the TOS font. It's slightly different, and they did that with Discovery as well, which kind of bugged me. I just prefer to use a TOS style font. It's really simple, guys. You can do that. Anyway,
it doesn't make any difference to me, honestly. Like, the one is easy to see, I guess.
I know, but they're distinctly different, and I prefer the TOS. It would just help it somewhat.
It feels too small.
A little bit.
But if the ship is much bigger, then it's in proportion.
Yes.
Whereas the Connie feels just right. It's big, it's broad, it's visible.
You should have matched the registry letters up to each other size-wise to get a scale.
Well, that doubles down to then like the bridge dome. I mean, we talked about that in the last video, but now we're directly comparison. I mean, what's interesting is if you do this, a direct side by side, those turbolift shafts line up. Size-wise.
But is it a turbo lift shaft? I mean, I know it is on the old one, the original one. The new one, it doesn't make sense because it looks like the bridge is kind of sunk down lower in the new one. If we're assuming that front view screen is a window, which it will be in this one, I'm sure. It's not that top dome, which it should be for the bridge. It seems to be a little bit bigger, which is odd considering the size of the ship is bigger, which means the bridge must be way substantially bigger. We know Discovery's bridge is quite big.
Biggest up until the couch bridge from Insurrection. Or Borg bridge, which is the entire ship. Because it has no centralized bridge.
Yeah, the scaling just, you gotta... It just messes up a whole bunch of things, and I don't know what they're gonna do.
Although again, I mean, you can see there are some windows either side of the bridge on deck 2.
Yeah, the BC
and
deck.
They are roughly the same size at this.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not far off. I mean, again, we've been told it's been bigger, but they might JJ it where they increase the size but not change the window sizing, and so it doesn't actually make sense, though it's.
That's how it feels. I mean, if you look at the windows on the secondary hull and compare them, they're the same size. I mean, they must be bigger windows in Discovery then. And
obviously we're saying that because we've heard interviews directly saying we've had to upscale it because it looks silly. But if they've kept... It's like, I mean, if we didn't know it was upscaled, then it's certainly more acceptable. But only if you watch the show where you look at the ship in context... And because the ship will be in contact with other bigger ships, you won't think about it. So if they don't change the window size to what actually makes sense, then they get to make the optical illusion for all the toys, for all the posters, and if you hide the bridge, I mean, you don't often see the Discovery bridge inside of a Discovery 3D render for toys and stuff. They just don't do it. So if you take that out of the equation, it changes the sense of scaling, and so you get away with it. Which is, again, I hope the window... isn't a window, it's on the different deck, and it's like an outer ring of rooms. But maybe they've re-retconned it back, or again, maybe this is an early version where John hasn't changed the scale of the windows yet. I mean, they changed the size right at the end. If this isn't upscaled, which I hope they've sort of re-changed their position, then the bridge dome just becomes a big-ass window like the Enterprise D, which I'm not opposed against, like I'm not against per se, it's just a bit redundant.
Yeah.
It would look pretty, I guess. You do some cool, like, oh look, it's space.
In space, no one can hear you in space.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, let's move to the side view.
Sorry, I forgot the side view.
That's all right. And this is really interesting.
This,
like I said, I like this new Discovery Enterprise. This is a good reimagining.
Well, we were some of the more positive people, I think, out there. When the initial pictures.
Well, people either love it or hate it. It seems to be. But for just because they hate Discovery, they hate it. But anyway, I like the design. I think it's fantastic, and it's probably how JJ should have done the Enterprise for 2009. Now, a lot of people giving us flack for that, saying, "Yeah, we get it. You don't like the 2009 one. Stop harping on it." But when you're comparing an Enterprise to something else, you compare it to another Enterprise. That's why we compare it to the 2009, which is another reimagined Enterprise, just as this is a reimagined Enterprise. So they make perfect sense to compare the two. This is how it should have been done for the movies, I think. Mm-hmm. It's sleek looking. It looks beautiful. Good job.
Rather than the 25% difference that JJ said to Ryan Church, we want it 65% different.
Take the original model, smash it with a hammer a few times, get some glue, mash it into a ball, and stretch it out, and
see what sticks.
Do this, and do this till it dries, and then there's your ship. That's 2009 Enterprise. Ooh.
Now, I'm going to be honest, looking at the side view of the Connie, why is the neck at a silly angle like that? Like, that neck is not a good-looking neck.
On the Constitution?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it was just because it had to be that way for the physical miniature to work. I mean, it's all based on real miniatures with real-world things. I mean, it's not a good-looking neck. It's
not great, but since I'm used to it, I like it. I like the way it angles in like that and stuff.
Yeah, I think, I mean, having that little rectangle piece that the reef added certainly helps fix the shape. I mean, the new one, I mean, that's a very nice, simple. You know, I said that this ship's very much a Enterprise E'd up, E-D'd up Connie. You know, center of mass, sleeking it out, changing the back cutout, really, you know, streamlining everything to make it faster, which is what the E was to the D. You know, that was, and it, you know, John's influence, even though he wasn't the primary designer, you know, you can sort of feel on this. I mean, it does look faster, it does look more maneuverable, does look more efficient.
It looks fantastic. It's a great looking ship. But it does have a lot of the refit elements from the neck down. The shape of the saucer, if you look at the curves of how it curves up at the top, they kept very true to the original. I mean, they kind of squashed it in a little bit.
It's more pointy.
Overall, it's got the same idea, the same feel, unlike the Ryan Church Enterprise. But once you hit that neck and all the way down, it's the refit. It's got the same barrel-shaped secondary hull. It's got the larger scoop cut out at the back. Mm-hmm. It looks fantastic, but it's not. It's just we have to. It's a visual reboot, guys. And that's fine. I'll enjoy it for that. But anyway, sorry, I'm rambling.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I mean, the source has been very squashed down. It's interesting how the Connie looks more bulbous in comparison, but it's more segmented. You know, each part is a piece. This version, it's been squished. It's been, you know, refined down. I mean, it's certainly different. And the impulse obviously close. I mean, that from the side looks very much like the refit. It's got those two fins at the back, which are hard to see, but it's got two fins a la Enterprise B. It all kind of it all flows as sort of more one shape. The original Connie is more like different pieces. This is all like it's a more cohesive shape. You know, like it's weird. I remember when we talked to Sean Hargraves, he showed us specifically for Beyond how there's visual language. You know, the neck, the pylons, like they're exacting matching curves, which shows visual symmetry. The original Connie has none of those. It's all different angles, there's no like visual language,
Yeah.
you know. Whereas almost this new one, like the pylon and the neck sort of go off in a V, and then there's a more cohesive form, I would say. Like designing for CG is very different to practical miniature because you've got to build it. You don't actually have to build this. I mean, we're going to build it, but we can 3D print now. So, you know, having pylons like that was what you had to do on TV budget to make it strong to hold it up. That was the reason, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure they couldn't do back swept pylons in the 60s that would have...
Otherwise it would...
Without the nacelle sagging.
Yep.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Which is an interesting form follows function thing, because it had to be a certain form for the function to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain elegance to that. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I love the squat profile. The shorter neck works for me. It looks good. But again, visually it ties more in with the refit.
And in fact, if you look at the neck windows, you should almost scale it down a bit. Because all the windows are thicker and...
Big.
Which is confusing. I don't think the windows have been properly matched to any sort of scale at this point, or just huge window. I mean, you know, NX style windows are portholes compared to the later big bay windows, but still, the visual language is clearly relatively the same, and yet if it's been bigger, then it's actually very different.
Yeah, and because all the designers we've talked to, Rick, Doug, John, they all talk about windows scale, windows giving you a real sense of scale. First glance, one of the first things you look at is a window to kind of get a sense of scale for deck heights and things. So they're very important when it comes to scaling.
At least it's not got a cutout in the saucer.
That's true enough. True enough. Well, I think that's pretty much a good discussion on this. What do you think? Anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, I want to see front, side, back. I mean, I want to see the other views, obviously. And I want to see it higher def and not as yellow. I mean, hopefully that's just a part of the dude that took the picture. I mean, also, we need to see it in motion. We need to see the insides, because you can sort of...
It's going to be beautiful in motion. It already was when it came in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's simple things you could do to redeem this design and make it make sense, rather than be totally different. Like, it's Discovery's version rather than the Prime version of the time. That's two distinct ways of looking at it. And hopefully the window, they will have the guts to stand down on that. And as I've said before, I know one designer's puts in place, but just have a system that lets you close up the window, or make it, even if you want to do advanced. I mean, we've always shown that this era has advanced technology that's wrong, so we'll do more of that to hide some of your canon mistakes. You know, have a window plate that goes translucent, but it can also go solid. Like, it's transparent aluminum that if you put an electrolysis through, it'll solidify. You know, and so it's solid in all the flybys until they say, right, activate the view screen rather than the holographic view screen. You know, really easy things to fix. Well, yeah, the hologram. Yeah, I mean, I really hope they're stuck to a few of those things, because that would be at least it would be a bone. You know, give us a bone to the fans. I mean, this is a good looking ship, but it couldn't look much more different to this. You know, for it to even be remotely.
I think we're lucky. It looks so much.
Yes.
Like the original.
Yes. Yeah. And season 2, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
we'll see if it has blue phases and all the other canon stuff. That wouldn't it be cool though if, like, at warp, the spikes come out of the facades.
Oh, that's neat. Yes.
Yeah. Little things they could do, seriously, just to, because we only have one appearance of the Connie, you know, in Cage and then Menagerie. I mean, there's things you could do. Or if it had little nibs, like little pointy things that were, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Be nice, though.
Yes.
And as always, if you guys can support us to help us make more of these shows, please do so.
And do fun render comparisons that you'll find nowhere else.
That's right. You can check out Patreon. We have a Patreon where you can help us on a monthly basis. Or head on over to trekyards.com, click the donate button. That's another way to help. Or just share the video around with everybody that you think would love it. We love the discussion. We love involving you guys. So also head on over to the Facebook page, because there's lots of really fantastic stuff there and great conversations.
He took basically all the outro material there. So I'll say, all right, one-time donation at trekyards.com. What else didn't you say?
I did say that.
Damn it, and subscribe
But
to
you
the
can say
YouTube.
subscribe and like.
There you go. See, he said everything, so I'm just going to... Thanks for watching, and tune in next time for another Trekyards. I'm Commander Cockens.
And I'm Captain Foley. Bye, guys.